All right, we are at Media Row, presented by Toyota, sitting on the Lazy Boy recliner. By the way, long live the lazy. And joining me is Will Gavin from Talk Sport. Will, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I've followed you for years because I'm a 49ers fan, and so I follow you as like a beat writer covering the team. And so this is a joy for me to be able to be on with you. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. And as you were talking, I don't know if you noticed, I was closing my eyes and I was hearkening back a couple of weeks to your famous call on Sky Bang reverse pass. Oh my gosh, Will, that was fantastic.
That's really kind. It's actually, so I pride myself in, even though I'm calling a Niners game and I'm a Niners fan, on being as neutral as possible. Right, I will, if you listen to the Dallas Goedert touchdowns from that game, they are just as passionate, right? I think that's the one time where my fandom really came out, because if you see they only posted the shorter clip before I started, you'll hear me start to say like, Purdy, flick the ball back to Sky Moore. And the reason that they cut it off there is because I go, oh, there's a flag. And actually, on the call, sounded completely exasperated by that. And then when it was clear that it was going on roughing the passer, then went back in and kind of redid the call a little bit again. But so it's funny that one's gone viral, because it's probably been the worst one of the season. Well, it's funny.
Tell me, so you are here in San Francisco for Super Bowl 60, and I understand you went over to the Pro Bowl practice, and did you meet Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, so we went over and we got we went over for the NFC availability. We actually got about 5 minutes with Jerry Rice as well, which is always a real joy. He and I have a history of talking about each other's beards whenever he comes over to the UK. So that was lovely. And we spoke to Juice briefly as well. But yeah, we got CMC and we did a few questions with him on, Purdy's development this season and everything else. And yeah, I said to him, I'm a British play-by-play announcer and I call the games for the UK, and I was over for the Eagles game, and he was like, sorry, that was you. And it turns out that not only has Christian McCaffrey seen the call, but he told me that more people have contacted him about the call than they have about the play itself. Which blows my mind. And he gave me the cleanest dap at the end of it as well, which just absolutely, basically my Super Bowl week has peaked on Monday morning. It's only downhill from here. It's peaked on Monday afternoon sitting with you. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, then being on with you guys, and then it's going to go downhill.
I was about ready to throw a flag on you for that one. No, Christian McCaffrey's catch was really good, but it pales in comparison to your call.
Oh, stop. That's ridiculous. He's the best pass catching back of the last probably 15, 20 years. So that's a ridiculous thing to say, and I'm very proud.
Yeah, well, I know you follow the 49ers religiously. I have said on the 49ers Talk podcast that I think that was the best play that I've ever seen Christian McCaffrey make. That was such a difficult catch in all the conditions, the wind, the pressure of the game. I mean, that was an extraordinary play he made.
I mean, it was all right for you because you were up in the press box in the lovely warm behind the hermetically sealed glass, not out like us in the I was going to do it in UK money. It was I think it feels like 10 degrees Fahrenheit, something along those lines. And you see it when you see that the end zone shot, the way that ball is wobbling in the air, for McCaffrey to adjust for an over-the-shoulder catch, stretching out for it. I think it's underrated how good the play is, because everyone focuses on what a great play call, what a great moment from Shanahan, the fact they did it in the Super Bowl before, and the skill level is insane.
Yeah. Well, Will, how does someone from the UK become such an American football fanatic?
It's a very good question, and I feel like it's one I've answered a lot recently, because I feel like I start coming up with weird and wonderful ways it happened, but the real answer is my old man, my dad, used to work for Oracle, so was based out here in the Bay Area 2 or 3 months of the year, and I used to come out and visit him, and I very distinctly remember 15, 16 years old watching Giants 49ers. I think it was a Thursday night, maybe 2002, 2003, something like that, and just falling in love with the presentation, the production. I've always been a football fan, like soccer as in our football. I had a bit of season ticket holder of my local team and loved sports all my life, but the pomp, the circumstance, the everything around it. And so I kind of fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the Niners at the same time. And I'm sure, as you're well aware, Matt, that was a lean moment to fall in love with San Francisco. To spend the next, they didn't go to the playoffs for another 8 or 9 years after I started following them. Yeah. Was a tough rough, but it just kind of snowballed from there, developed. And then when I started working in sports media in kind of the early 2010s, I made the decision that okay, I'm going to work in football. That's where the money is in the UK. But I'm going to start my own NFL podcast. I'm going to start going and covering the international games. And the growth in the UK has been astronomical in the last 10, 15 years. And I've just been lucky enough to ride that wave, really.
Is there a part of American football and also the 49ers that because you're not from here, that maybe you see it differently, or you think a little bit outside the box of, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why does this work and that doesn't work?
That's a really interesting question. I feel like I've been covering it for so long, probably not now. What I would say is that the argument I make for American football to a lot of the guys back home for what the things that we do so much better is that football in our country has introduced what we call VAR, but a video review system, and it's been implemented just dreadfully, like so poorly. And actually, I see the way that the NFL has, for the most part, been a league that has been willing over the years to adapt, to learn, to develop and change the rules. And they've not always got it right, but at least they have recognized when it's wrong and changed it and moved things forward. And I've always said that I think it's a real example to football that football should be followed by our football a little bit more. I don't think there's anything the other way around, though. I think I think maybe the only thing is early on, a lot of the games I covered when the international series was in the UK and it was all in the 1 p.m. Eastern window, so 10 a.m. here, Pacific. It was very much like, those games, we were getting Browns-Rams at 6 p.m. UK time. And so that wasn't a nationally televised game. And therefore, the rate of play is so much quicker. Going covering Super Bowls, covering primetime games, getting them in primetime, and having those 2-minute long TV time. Have a kickoff, and then here's a 2-minute TV timeout until we let the offense go out and actually play. That's the only thing I think they could speed up a little bit. But otherwise, I don't know. I love it for what it is. I love it for its purities and its malformities.
3 games in London this coming season.
Yeah.
And then the 49ers haven't, let's see, the last time they were in London was 2013. Before that, 2010. So I guess
2010, Troy Smith against Tim Tebow.
Wow. Yes.
Broncos 49ers. What a game that was. Frank Gore did go for over 100 yards and a touchdown, though, and I bought a Frank Gore jersey that day, and then he signed it for me in London last season when he came out for a watch party. So it was a lovely full circle moment for me personally, even if the 80,000 people in Wembley had to watch a truly terrible game of football that day.
Yeah, so you met Rice and Gore and McCaffrey and Juice. Do you have a connection to the 49ers? Are they a partner of yours, or what's?
Yeah, so in the UK, but people might not be aware of this out here. It's a really big deal outside of the US, but the NFL brought into this global marketing program. And so teams actually buy rights to market in certain countries. So if you go to Germany, it's the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Patriots. I'm trying to remember who else. But in the UK, it was initially 6 teams. It's now gone up to 10 teams. And the 49ers were one of those first teams. So they own rights specifically in the UK and in Mexico. So you'll see a lot of the activations they do in Mexico, the watch parties and things like that. And they're doing a lot of the same out in the UK. So they do annual watch parties. They bring legends over for tours, and as part of it, TalkSport, who we're the kind of biggest sports radio station in the UK, so we're kind of the ESPN equivalent, I guess, or Westwood One equivalent,
Or the NBC Sports Bay Area.
or the NBC Sports Bay Area, of course, equivalent in the UK. And so we have negotiated a deal with the 49ers where we broadcast all their games. So for the last 5 years, I want to say now, we were taking Greg Pappa's calls when he was still kind of fighting fit. And then this season, Guy Haberman and everyone that stood in brilliantly. And in fact, the reason I was doing that Eagles game was I actually reached out to the 49ers and said, look, Greg Pappa's a friend of mine and someone I've been a bit of a drinking buddy at Super Bowls with, etc. And when he was unwell, he kind of just jokingly suggested to me, he was like, why don't you get in touch with San Francisco? So I said to them, if you ever want a British guy to come out and call your games, I will happily come and do a game on KNBR or wherever else. And they actually got in touch for the playoffs and said, look, we've booked Guy Haberman, he's already doing the playoffs, but we'd love you to come out and do your own commentary to go on UK radio. And so the 49ers actually flew us out for that game and for the Seahawks game as well. And so thankful to everyone on the team that did that, because it's delivered some amazing stuff for us.
That's great. And you'll be calling the Super Bowl.
I will be calling the Super Bowl. Ross Tucker, Greg Rosenthal alongside me, live in the UK from 10:30 p.m. through till 4 in the morning. Locker room afterwards, the whole kit and caboodle.